Hey, how's it going? My name is Quentin Walston. I am a professional jazz educator. Today, we are talking about improv. Here are 5 improv games and activities to help your students play off the page. Improvisation is an amazing way to help your kids nurture their creativity. It can help composers, it can help jazz musicians, it can help any music student regardless of their genre. Now, a lot of times people don't like to improvise because they're afraid of playing either a wrong note or putting themselves out there or just playing off the page. So these 5 games or activities will help those students, really any student. So the first one is probably there's no rules associated with it. It's just called chaos, and it is what it sounds like. It's where you let the students, it could be an entire class, just make noise. Or if you're giving them a specific solo scale to work with, they can just play whatever they want from that scale. Now, how is this constructive? Well, it goes back to the concept of getting students off the page. It's giving them an allowance. You're allowing them to make something up. You're allowing them to play something that's not written down, even if it doesn't sound good. So this is actually really important. If you're giving kids a solo scale, they can just make up whatever they want. You can do this with a room full. The chaos game is an icebreaker. Now, the next game is called Fill in the Blank. It's essentially call and response. You as a teacher play a musical phrase and the student responds. And the great thing is the student can respond with whatever notes or rhythm they want. It's a really subtle way of getting improvisation going. It's not saying you have to do this whole blown out huge solo. Rather, it's just pick a couple of notes. So for instance, maybe you're going to do the classic shave and a haircut 2 bits thing. You could play as the teacher and then let the student fill in that blank. You might have a student that really wants to figure out the right notes. You could have a student that plays something else instead. It's even acceptable if a student plays out of key on purpose. The concept is to get the students improvising, creating something that's off book. The third improv game is called the melody chain. Now, the melody chain works on more than just improvisation. It's something that helps kids pay attention to what's going on around them. It helps their music theory and it helps their ear. So the melody chain is simply a student plays 2 notes. Their first note has to be whatever they just heard, and then they can make up or add on a second note. Now, you can do a lot of iterations of this game to meet the needs and meet the levels of your student or students. So let's do an example with just the major scale. So if the teacher, start with the major scale, the student has to play the note that they just heard plus the next note. So teacher starts with C, and then the student would go C, D. Now the next student starts with the note they just heard, which would be D, and they add a new note, D, E, and so on. So students have to pay attention. They need to know where they are. They need to be able to hear what the last student just played, and then they play the next note. So the melody chain can be used to practice major scales, to practice minor scales, or if you really want to go further towards improvisation, they have to play the note they just heard and then they can add a completely new note that's not in a scalar order. So try out the melody chain, see how much it can help students play off the book while incorporating things like ear training and paying attention. The fourth improv activity is probably one of the more recognized or traditional ways of improvising, and that's called trading. This is really helpful if you do have a jazz band or a band that's comfortable with playing over a chord progression. Trading is when band members alternate a set amount of measures for improvisation, typically 4 measures. So you would have one person improvise for 4 measures, then the next person would improvise for 4 measures, and so on and so forth. And this really works too if you're going over a traditional chord progression like a 12-bar blues or a 32-bar form. It helps kids know where they are and really lock in with the band and lock in with the chord progression while also being inventive while creating new ideas. Now, if you want this for a more basic kind of introductory level, do it with just one chord, like a chord vamp. You, the teacher, you can just play like a dominant chord and have students improvise on top of that. You can do it for the traditional 4 measures. You can also switch things up. Try 2 measures, try 8 measures, try trading on 1 measure. I think you can have a lot of fun and encourage students to bounce off and build ideas off of one another. Not just mimicking what they exactly heard, but kind of building that musical conversation. The last improv game and activity that I want to show you is called Create a Story. This is really good for budding composers, but it also works for really young ones too. I do this with kindergarten and elementary school students. It lets them become composers and lets them become creative and build up their own music. The way you play this game is you come up with emotions and then you write down musical qualities that match that emotion. So let's say it's excited. You would say to your student or students, all right, does fast or slow match excited? They'll say fast. Does major or minor match excited? They'll say major, so on and so forth. And then you'll do that for another emotion, maybe sad. You can say, okay, does sad, do you think that's fast or slow? They write down slow. Do you think it's major or minor? They write down minor. And then you can have them improvise music that fits those emotions. So you're creating a story. Now, this doesn't need to be polished whatsoever. You as a teacher could lead and they could just kind of tinker around on their instrument following along, especially if you're doing elementary school students. You can just give them xylophone or bells, or you could do it with advanced students. Let's say we're doing that excited and sad. I might, for excited, I say, what, we did fast and major, maybe loud. You could do something like this, very simple, and then move on to sad, and you have, so it's kind of basic improvisation, but it's connecting the idea of what you feel matches what you hear. If you found these activities helpful, you can get these 5 plus more in my free PDF. This PDF is from the material in my book, How to Teach Jazz and Improvisation. This book is for all instruments, whether you teach piano, saxophone, middle school band, guitar. This book is written for teachers that don't have a lot of jazz experience. It demystifies everything with jazz, and it has plenty of repertoire and pieces that you can do in your lessons, in your classes, without being a super jazz master yourself. You can check that out at thisisjazz.com and get your free PDF right now. It's in the description. Thanks a lot. I'll see you in the next video.